Hello, hi everyone. Today, welcome to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to solve another problem in Leetcode. The problem has title longest consecutive sequence, and the problem number is 128. The difficulty level is medium. So first we'll try to understand the problem, try a brute force approach, and then improve upon it. We'll also discuss the time complexity that is involved when we are solving the problem, and we are also going to see the bunch of solution that is present in this section. So let's try to understand the problem first and then code it. So the problem is stated as, given an unsorted array of integer nums, return the length of longest consecutive element sequence. You must write the algorithm that runs in order of n time. Okay, so we have a challenge here that we must write an algorithm that runs in order of n time. And what are the key things that we know right now? That the array is unsorted and we have to return the longest consecutive elements. So what is longest consecutive element sequence? So let's look at the example where we have example here that has an input uh, array of nums, array of integer called nums, which have these values, and the longest consecutive element sequence is 1 2 3 4, which is part of this array, therefore its length is 4. And in this particular given example, 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So beginning with 0, so we have two zeros. So like beginning with 0, we there are like total of 9 elements. So how you solve this question? So let's try with example 1, and then we have these all numbers 1 1 comma 3 comma 2, right? So what if we sort this array? I mean, let's try the basic idea behind it so that we can uh, in like we can enhance the efficiency and complexity involved in this. So first thing what we want to do is 1 2 3 4, we want to sort this array, right? And sorting makes things quite easier. So once we sort this array, we just have to find out what are the number of consecutive elements that are present, and then we want to find out the longest consecutive elements. So let me try to code this thing, because coming up with a solution that is order of n time is not that intuitive, and during the interview process you might want to know the efficient solution that is possible to solve within that interview given time frame, right? So what you want to do is you want to know that so far the longest streak that we have is 0, right? And we want to see, first sort the numbers. So we can simply sort the list of numbers by using the sort method, right? And then what we want to do is you want to iterate over all the numbers for I in range 1 to length of numbers. Why from 1? Because once sorted, the first element is always will always have a, like, will always be unique, and that can have a value greater than only in the subsequent places. So the longest streak that we have so far is 1, right? And now what we want to check is if the nums I is not equals to nums I minus 1. So only if the nums I is not equals to nums I minus 1, which means it's greater than, right, greater than the previous. For example, if you sort this example 2 array, there will be two zeros, 0 and then 0. So we don't want to consider the first index, that is 0th index 0, to be a part of the streak, but instead we want to go for the next element, like next 0 at the first position, first index, right? So we will check if this is not equal to, then we have another check that nums of I currently equals to nums of I minus 1 plus 1. If it's increasing, strictly increasing by 1, then only we can say that it is uh, it is in the consecutive sequence. And then we want to say that current streak is increased by 1. So we also want to maintain another variable that current streak is given by 1. And if it's not increasing by 1, then we want to update the longest streak, that is maximum of the longest streak or the current streak, right? And reset the value of current streak to 1, so that the next iteration onwards we can have a solution that has the, like, it can again build up upon the current streak, and then we can have a longest streak if there is a if there is such case. And then we want to finally return the maximum of longest streak or the current streak. And why we are doing this at the end is because, let's suppose we have some kind of example here, 4 5. So the longest streak here is 5, and we will end up in within this if condition. We will never execute this else part, and since we are not executing the else part, what happens is our value is our longest consecutive value is contained in the current streak, whereas the longest streak has just the one value and it was never updated. So we are using this max operation here during the return statement. And let's try to run this code. Fingers crossed, hopefully it runs. Yeah, it works. And if I use the example test cases, yes, it works as well. So the time complexity that is currently in with this solution, with this approach, is that we are sorting the number, and the list of size of the nums array is n, let's say. Then the sorting in Python takes order of n log n, and which is comparatively higher than order of n time, which is expected from the Leetcode. Let's try to submit this, and I hope this will give the time limit exceeded status, because it's not expected. Yeah, we are not handling one of the cases, that is if the string list is empty. So if not nums, we want to return 0. That we should do that. This is the edge case we should always consider. So yeah, actually it accepted. It should not have, because it's asking for the order of n time. We must write an algorithm. Probably there is some fault in the test cases. Okay, but we will try to solve uh, we'll try to solve this same problem with time complexity order of n. And how would we do that is, first what we can do is we can understand what exactly are we achieving for. So let's try to understand this again. 100, 200, 1 comma 3 comma 2. So what if we iterate from without sorting the list? What if we iterate from 0th index to the last index moving forward? But when we are moving forward, we want to take care of one condition, that if there exists a value within the right half of the list that is less, strictly less than 1, then we don't want to uh, increase the count of the current streak, and we want to only begin when it is the least. For example, if it's 100 and we want to check if 99 is present in the on the right half, it's not. So we will skip that and say that 100 is the maximum that we have found so far. And if there is 101, then we would have increased the current streak to 2. And if there was 102, we would have increased the current streak. But this is not the case here. So let's move to value 4. And once we have value 4, we want to check if there exists a value that is 4 minus 1. Yes, it does. So we will keep on moving, keep on looking for a strictly lesser than 1 values. Okay, so 3 minus, then we'll have 3 minus 1, 2, we also have 3 minus 1, then we have 2 minus 1, we also have 1. So this is what we want to do. And once we find 1, we want to just update all the values that are present with strictly increasing 1, and that way we'll have the longest streak of 1 2 3 4. I mean, the longest streak that is present in the list. Okay, so for that, the first thing, I mean, one thing that we were frequently doing was looking into the right half or looking into the array again. So looking into the array has, if it is a list, then it's an order of n, and using a for loop within this order of n operation lookup, that would be order of n square. That is worse than what we did last time. So what we want to do is we want to convert this nums into a set, and that we can simply do as nums set equals to set of nums, right? And then we can also say that longest streak so far is 1, right? And we say that for n in nums, what do you want to do? uh, we want to check, we want to check. So current num equals to n, and current streak equals to 1, right? And then we say that while current num minus 1, which is 4 minus 1, 3 in nums set. If 3 is in num set, what do you want to do? If 3 is in num set, what we want to do is we want to update the list. Not really, update the current num. Okay, so if n minus 1 in nums set, then we want to continue. We simply, if n minus 1 is in the num set, we simply do not want to execute the code. But once we are at the lowest number, then what we want to do is we want to say that the current number is n, which is 1, and the current streak is 1. Now what we want to do is current num plus 1 is in the num set, then we say that current num is plus equals to 1, and current streak is plus equals to 1, right? And once this is done, what we want to do is we want to say that longest streak that we have found is maximum of the longest streak, or the current streak that we did, right? And we can simply initialize longest streak to 0, because there could, like last time we saw that there was a case when nums list is empty, and in that case it should be 0. So this loop will never be executed if the nums is empty, and the longest streak will always be 0. And at the end, what you want to do is you want to return the longest streak value, right? So this is our solution, and this is why this is a order of n solution. It looks like this is order of n square, but it is not actually, because for n in nums, what we are doing is we are iterating over all the nums, all the elements in the nums list only once. So n minus 1 is present there, we skip this entire part. N minus 2 is, well, again n minus 1 is present, we skip the entire part. We only execute this while loop when we have the smallest value 1, right? And then we keep on increasing the value of current number and the streak value until we have like 1 2 3 4, until the chain is broken. The chain of strictly increasing by 1 is broken. So we are just iterating over all the elements in the array. Okay, let's try to run this code, and yes, it works. And when we submit this code, mm, yep, it works too. And you can see that the runtime and the memory is completely different here. But let's look at the solution here. So one, it's defined as brute force, and for the brute force approach, what is being done here is something similar what I did. Okay, but instead what they have done is current num plus 1 in nums, so it's like simply checking it in the nums list and checking using a loop and then doing a check operation, find operation, not check operation, find operation, or say search operation in the list is order of n, so the time complexity is order of n cube. So there's another approach called sorting, which I completed in the beginning, and for that the time complexity is order of n log n, and space complexity is order of 1 or order of n, depending on like how the sorting operation is being done. And the third approach is hash set and intelligent sequence building. So in this particular case, it's something similar to what I did. And yeah, if num minus 1 not in num set, and instead what I did was if num minus 1 is in num set, then I'm simply doing a continue operation, and most of the logic is same. That is, we are doing a lookup in the set instead of list this time, and here is a pretty good explanation of why this is a overall runtime is linear. So you can take a look at this, and space complexity here is order of n because uh, we are converting this list of numbers into set, and that requires order of n. Okay, so that's it. अब नेपालीमा हेरौँ है त। नेपालीमा भन्दाखेरि आजको प्रब्लम चाहिँ लङ्गेस्ट कन्जिक्युटिभ सिक्वेन्स भन्ने छ, जसको चाहिँ डिफिकल्टी लेभल मिडियम हो। र यो प्रब्लममा के भनिरहेको छ भने चाहिँ एउटा अनसर्टेड एरे अफ इन्टिजर्स छन् नम्स भन्ने, अनि त्यसबाट चाहिँ हामीले लङ्गेस्ट कन्जिक्युटिभ एलिमेन्ट सिक्वेन्सको लेन्थ भन्नुपर्ने हो। र यो अल्गोरिदम लेख्दाखेरि चाहिँ अर्डर अफ एन टाइममा लेख्नुपर्छ। फर्स्टमा चाहिँ हामीले सल्भ गर्दाखेरि फर्स्ट अप्रोच जुन थियो हाम्रो त्यो सर्टिङबाट थियो, भन्नाले यो नम्बर जुन लिस्ट एरे अफ इन्टिजर्स दिएको छ त्यसलाई चाहिँ सर्ट गरौँ, र सर्ट गरिसकेपछि एउटा सिम्पल चेक गरौँ, यदि त्यो नम्बर बिगिनिङ विथ इन्डेक्स 1 प्रिभियस इन्डेक्समा सेम छैन भनेपछि पक्कै नै डिफ्रेन्ट हुनुपर्छ। र डिफ्रेन्ट छ भनेपछि कतिको डिफ्रेन्ट छ, स्ट्रिक्टली ग्रेटर देन 1 छ भनेपछि वाट वी क्यान डु, हामी के गर्न सक्छौँ भनेपछि त्यसलाई इन्क्रिज गर्दै जान सक्छौँ र करेन्ट स्ट्रिकको भ्याल्यु चाहिँ बढाउँदै जान सक्छौँ। सो यहाँ चाहिँ मेरो पुरानो सब्मिसन हेऱ्यो भने चाहिँ मैले के गरेको छु भनेपछि एउटा लुप लगाएँ 1 देखि लेन्थ अफ नम्बरसम्म, त्यसपछि चेक गरेँ पुरानो नम्बर चाहिँ पहिला 0th इन्डेक्सको नम्बर चाहिँ ith इन्डेक्सको नम्बर चाहिँ i-1 इन्डेक्सको नम्बरसँग म्याच हुन्छ कि हुँदैन, हुँदैन भने चाहिँ पक्कै नि त्यो ग्रेटर देन हुनु पऱ्यो। अब ग्रेटर देन छ भनेपछि एक्ज्याक्टली ग्रेटर देन 1 छ कि छैन, छ भनेपछि हामी के गरौँ, करेन्ट स्ट्रिकको भ्यालुलाई इन्क्रिज गरौँ। छैन भनेपछि हामी के गर्छौँ, लङ्गेस्ट स्ट्रिकको भ्यालु जुन छ त्यसलाई चाहिँ हामी अपडेट गर्छौँ। र अपडेट गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामीले जहिले ध्यान दिनुपर्छ म्याक्सिमम अफ लङ्गेस्ट स्ट्रिक हुनसक्छ अथवा करेन्ट स्ट्रिक हुनसक्छ। अनि त्यसपछि रिसेट गर्छौँ करेन्ट स्ट्रिकको भ्याल्यु बिकज वी हेभ अ न्यू नम्बर। अनि त्यसपछि अन्तिममा चाहिँ रिटर्न गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ पनि म्याक्सिमम अफ लङ्गेस्ट स्ट्रिक अथवा करेन्ट स्ट्रिक गर्छौँ, किनभने चाहिँ एउटा हाम्रो यस्तो केसेस पनि हुनसक्छ जसमा चाहिँ 1 2 3 4 5 कन्टिन्युसली चाहिँ सबै चाहिँ स्ट्रिक्टली इन्क्रिजिङ 1 अनि त्यो स्ट्रिक मेन्टेन गरिरहेछ। सो स्ट्रिक मेन्टेन गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ के छ भनेपछि हामी यो एल्स कन्डिसनमा कहिले पनि जाँदैनौँ। अनि एल्स कन्डिसनमा गएन भने चाहिँ लङ्गेस्ट स्ट्रिकको भ्याल्यु 1 नै रहिरहन्छ, करेन्ट स्ट्रिकको भ्याल्यु चाहिँ 5 हुन्छ। सो त्यो केसमा चाहिँ हामी के गर्नुपर्छ, म्याक्सिमम चाहिँ दुइटाको निकाल्नुपर्छ। तर यो चाहिँ अर्डर अफ एन लग एन सोल्युसन हो, किनभने चाहिँ हामीले सर्टिङ अपरेसन मिडलमा युज गरिरहेको छौँ होइन। र यसैलाई चाहिँ अर्डर अफ एन सोल्युसनमा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ के गर्न मिल्छ भने चाहिँ हामीले एउटा टाइम कम्प्लेक्सिटीलाई इम्प्रुभ गर्नलाई स्पेस कम्प्लेक्सिटीलाई कम्प्रोमाइज गर्दै हामी के गर्न सक्छौँ, एउटा नम्स भन्ने जुन लिस्ट अफ इन्टिजर्स थियो त्यसलाई चाहिँ हामी सेटमा कन्भर्ट गर्छौँ, सो द्याट यो सेटमा भएपछि त्यसको लुकअप अपरेसन चाहिँ हाम्रो कन्स्ट्यान्ट टाइममा हुन्छ। अनि त्यसरी चाहिँ हामी बेटर अल्गोरिदम लेख्न सक्छौँ। सो फोर एन इन नम्स हामी के गर्दैछौँ भनेपछि चेक गर्दैछौँ नम -1 चाहिँ नम सेटमा छ कि छैन। यदि छ भनेपछि हामी के गर्छौँ, त्यो नम्बरलाई चाहिँ स्किप गर्छौँ, भन्नाले यो अपरेसन कुनै पनि हुँदैन है। अनि हामी अचिभ के गर्न खोजिरहेछौँ भनेपछि यो लेट्स सपोज 104 200 132 लिस्ट अफ इन्टिजर्स छ होइन। सो यसमा चाहिँ 4 आयो भने चाहिँ हामी चेक गर्छौँ 3 छ कि छैन, छ। 3 छ भनेपछि 2 छ कि छैन, छ भनेपछि चाहिँ वी सिम्पली वान्ट टु गेट टु द पोइन्ट, हामी सबैभन्दा लोएस्ट नम्बर जुन छ त्यहाँ त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ सुरु गर्न ट्राई गरेको। सो त्यहाँबाट सुरु गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामी के गर्न सक्छौँ भने चाहिँ करेन्ट नम्बर चाहिँ 1 हो, मेरो करेन्ट स्ट्रिक 1 हो, किनभने चाहिँ मैले एउटा सिङ्गल डिजिट नम्बर भेटाएको चाहिँ त्यो स्ट्रिक त 1 हुने नै भयो। त्यसपछि हामी चेक गर्दैछौँ त्यो सबैभन्दा थोरै नम्बर सानो नम्बर जुन थियो नि 1, सो 1 + 1 गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ त्यो नम सेटमा छ कि छैन। सो यो लुकअप चाहिँ कन्स्ट्यान्ट टाइम छ र यो सिन्स सेट छ भनेपछि अब के छ, मैले भेटाउने भयो 2 छ भनेर। अनि यदि 2 छ भनेपछि के गर्नुपर्छ, मैले करेन्ट नम्बरलाई पनि अपडेट गरेँ 1 ले, किनभने चाहिँ स्ट्रिक्टली 1 ले बढेको छ। र त्यसपछि स्ट्रिकलाई पनि अपडेट गरेँ किनभने चाहिँ 1 पछि मैले 2 भेटाएँ, सो स्ट्रिक पनि अब 2 हो। सो यसरी नै यो वाइल लुप कति बेलासम्म चल्छ भनेपछि जति बेलासम्म हाम्रो स्ट्रिक्टली 1 को इन्क्रिजिङ भ्याल्यु चाहिँ नम सेटमा छ भनेपछि। र यदि त्यस्तो छ भनेपछि केस हाम्रो के भयो, लङ्गेस्ट स्ट्रिक चाहिँ अब अपडेट गर्ने बेला हो। र लङ्गेस्ट स्ट्रिक अपडेट गर्दाखेरि के हुन्छ, म्याक्सिमम अफ द लङ्गेस्ट स्ट्रिक द्याट इज वाट वी हेभ फाउन्ड सो फार। अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ करेन्ट स्ट्रिक जुन अहिले चाहिँ हामीले करेन्ट स्ट्रिक निकाल्यौँ त्यो दुइटामा चाहिँ जुन म्याक्सिमम छ त्यही चाहिँ हाम्रो लङ्गेस्ट स्ट्रिक हो। र अन्तिममा चाहिँ त्यही लङ्गेस्ट स्ट्रिकको भ्याल्युलाई चाहिँ रिटर्न गरायो भने वी हेभ एन आन्सर। एन्ड यसको टाइम कम्प्लेक्सिटी चाहिँ अब इम्प्रुभ एन लग एनबाट इम्प्रुभ भएर अर्डर अफ एन पुगेछ। यो सम्बन्धी चाहिँ फर्दर इन्फर्मेसन अथवा मोर क्ल्यारिटी चाहिएछ भनेपछि यहाँ भएको सल्युसन ट्याबमा गएर हेर्न मिल्छ। र मैले गरेको अप्रोच र यहाँ भएको अप्रोच सेम नै हो। सो अर्डर अफ एन सल्युसन किन भयो भनेर चाहिँ हेर्न मिल्छ, राइट। अनि योभन्दा राम्रो सल्युसन अथवा केही सुझाव छ भनेपछि कमेन्ट बक्समा छोड्नु होला। मन पऱ्यो भने चाहिँ भिडियो लाइक गर्नु होला। धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद भिडियो हेरिदिनको लागि।